Hey everyone, you're tuned in to Live with Necee. I am your host, Opal Bailey, and I have a wonderful lady. Her name is Alyson, who works for a PSA. She is a staff specialist there. So good morning, Alyson.
Hey Opal, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Hey, well, let's jump into it. Tell us a little bit about why you chose PSA to work.
PSA actually, funny background story that I have is that I actually interviewed with them a few years ago and it just didn't work out at that point in my life. And we kind of kept in touch and I ended up being a stay-at-home mom and they reached out to me and what they offer and just how open they are as a company. I felt it was a good time for me. So I went back to work part-time. And in doing so, figured out that I was happy working there and I really loved it. So I moved up into a full-time position and I've been there almost 2 years now and I'm really happy.
So what was it about the position or what you do there that made you so content with working there? What was it?
It's just the background of basically the company. I felt the support, being a mom who was coming in. I had a new baby at home and I was really just nervous to go back to work. I didn't know what I was getting into. And, everyone in the office was just really welcoming and understanding and they worked with me and especially the company as a whole, their training and kind of doing things at my pace and just gave me the comfort of knowing I found a good place to be. And in doing that, there was another opportunity that came and I knew it was a good time to make this my permanent home and to be there full time. So I took the move.
For the people who don't know, could you explain what PSA is?
PSA as a whole, we are across the country and we offer different programs. Actually, Brevard County is pretty lucky because we have a PPEC and we have a home health side. And what the PPEC is basically it's a daycare for medically fragile children. So that is for parents who maybe their children don't necessarily qualify for full home health. They can take them to the daycare, while they're at work. We have great hours there, as well as a home health side where we do provide around-the-clock care. Across the country, we do have different, organizations like that. Some offices work with adults, but in Melbourne, we do specialize in working with pediatric patients only.
So when you mention fragile care, is that because of the patient is fragile or that is what you're offering?
Well, what we define medically fragile would be just different diagnoses depending on what they need. So fragile would define, they may not be able to eat out of a bottle, like a 6-month-old that would be healthy would do. So our trained nurses that work in the center or work in home health, they know how to work with them and they work under a physician's orders, which is something a daycare couldn't do. So we provide the nursing. Like I said, in the home, it would be more of a severe care, but the fragile state just depends on the diagnosis of the patient and what kind of treatment that they would need.
So you're basically a caregivers organization. Am I correct? You help with the caregivers as well as the patients?
Well, we do help the families. We do give them education that they need as far as how to pursue the treatments they need. Because a lot of families, they don't expect to have a preemie baby or expect for an accident to leave their child in a state that they're not capable of caring for them. So when they come to us, a lot of them will reach out to us. We kind of hold their hand and guide them through the process with their physician and with their insurances as well. And just, try to give them the training. We do caregiver training with them. So that way, if for some reason we weren't able to staff a shift, they would be fully capable of caring for their child as we would be.
Well, what family services do you offer to the families that come into PSA?
Well, we are in touch with a lot of different, organizations throughout the community. Like Early Steps would be one of them. They're a great organization that they have a lot of avenues that they are able to help the families. And so we would typically put a family in touch with someone such as Early Steps if they did need further care, beyond us giving them the training for their child.
So as you said, early steps, is that when the child, explain that. What do you mean by early steps?
Early Steps is just an organization. They do help the family with different, therapies, or maybe diagnosing somebody that they may not be as severe as needing home health. It may be somebody with, a speech therapy need or help with walking, those types of things. So they're just a great resource to help families early on in diagnosis and, following throughout their childhood and make sure they get the proper treatment.
Okay. And what are some of the treatments that you provide at PSA?
We can provide anywhere from working with a patient that may have a G-tube, which is for feeding, all the way to a ventilator and a trach. So it just depends. Our nurses of all different skill levels. We have level 1 nurses, which would be a new graduate. We welcome new graduates in. We would love to provide, training. When they're with us, they can move on up, and we're happy to train them. Or you may get a seasoned nurse that comes to us with plenty of vent and trach experience, and they can work with patients. So it just depends. Each patient is different and what they need. And we always make sure that our nurses are specifically trained to work with the patients that they have. So I think that no two patients are really alike. So we kind of have to give them specific training with each patient.
So how detailed is the training when it comes to the nurses going into the family homes for the first time?
Well, we always bring a nurse in. We look at their background to kind of decide, how much training they need or what they're going to get from us. And so typically they come in for a full day training in our office. And with that, you have to keep in mind, we do one-on-one care. So it's a lot more of direct attention from our director of nursing than it would be for a full, nursing staff if they were at a hospital. With that, it's a full day in the office, and then we'd match them up with a patient. We do have patients throughout Brevard County, and once we found one that was a match for them, we would send them to do a full shift orientation with a nurse. Most times, nurses feel comfortable after that, and then we would just go ahead and with working them on a shift. But we can tailor our orientations to the nurses. So if they needed more, then we're more than happy to give them that.
So when you have the nurse that come into the home, how receptive is the parent with the nurses? How do they gel together and work together?
Well, everyone is different. As you know, as a parent, you have your children, you have your home the way it is. So the biggest thing we stress to our nurses is, obviously you have to be respectful of anyone, but especially you're in someone's home, we have to tell them, they may have different beliefs as you. They may like your shoes off. They may like this. They may like that. And so with what we do, along with the clinical skills, we also have to match them with, hey, are you all right with a dog in the home? Or are you all right with, mom being home? Those types of things. So we work together. I'm in touch with all my families, and I like to get to know them and everything about them, as well as my nurses. And, I work with them, and I will go in the home if we need to and kind of set everyone up. But the families, once we get them in there and show them that we're there to help, they're usually really very happy to have us there.
Now, PSA, do they allow a parent who don't have any insurance, or is this just insurance-based to have these services y'all provide, or?
Well, one thing good about PSA Healthcare, especially our Melbourne office, is that we don't decline, insurances. Every patient is going to have, whether it be Medicaid or whether their parents provide them, with, their own self-insurance. We do accept all patients from 18 because we are strictly pediatrics. So if the insurance isn't something necessarily that we have a contract with, we're always willing to maybe, get some letter of acceptance through the insurance or direct them to an insurance that we can help them, because our goal is not to send any patient away. And a lot of our patients are Medicaid-based, which is great because we want to be able to help anyone that we can.
What do you see as the biggest challenge in your field?
I think in home health, what we do is just, I think it's kind of across the board, is just a shortage of nursing. And a lot of people are kind of timid maybe about doing one-on-one care and, working with pediatrics. But we try to just express to them, people, we ask them, do you have kids? And most of them do. And if you've been around children, that's pretty much all. It's scaled down. As long as you have the clinical skills, you can be comfortable. And, trying to express to people that we are one-on-one care. So while you might be in a facility working with multiple patients and running around, this is a pretty rewarding job because you do get that one-on-one, and daily, like in our daycare facility, I watch our children grow and see that. And most of our nurses that have come and weren't sure about it, they stay and they're thankful, because they get to see the progress. So I'd say it's just the nursing shortage, and just sometimes people fear what they don't know. And so going into something different, they may not initially be interested, but if I can get them in and speak with them and answer all of their questions, they usually have all of their, fears at ease.
Why would people want to choose your organization, though?
Well, I like to think, as I said on why I came to PSA is, everyone in the office, that's the great thing, is that I work directly with my nurses and I work with my families. And I like to think that we're pretty, we're good-hearted people. And I think it goes a long way. I have lots of people, single moms, families, people going to school with kids, without kids. And I think the biggest thing is just that we give that understanding, and we are a per diem company. So if you need to take off on a Wednesday because your child has a play, have off on a Wednesday. And, we don't come down on you for that, as long as, give us some time and we'll do anything you need us to do. So I think just the fact that we're so open and welcoming of everyone makes us a good company.
So with everything you said and how you're caring, how you really look into providing the right nurses and the right attitude, that plays a lot in coming in, to the homes with the families and stuff. What is it about PSA that kind of, I know you probably mentioned some of it, but really stands out to where this person is going to make a decision to go to you rather than to go somewhere else? Is it, is it because of your hours? What are your hours? Is, different things like that?
Well, we do provide, what the hours they get are based on what their doctor recommends. So we do work with the families, like I said, to, if mom or dad works full time, we say, okay, this is what we suggest. We are really hands-on with everybody, whether that means our director of nursing come in on a nighttime or whatever it may be. I just think that PSA as a company, I've kind of been in this industry with different organizations, and I like to think I found my home here. It's just a good company. We're honest. I think that's the biggest thing, is that when a family comes to us, we give them the honest, this is the way it is. Unfortunately, as everyone knows, nurses may be in a shortage in the area, and we're going to do our best to give you 100%, but there may be a time or two where we may have to ask you, hey, can you cover this or that? And we'll always be in touch with the families. And I think that does go a long way with, a family, just to know up front, we're not going to play any games with them, and we're not going to tell them things that we, can't do. We're always up front. And the same thing with our nurses too. We always have our nurses go there and just be as helpful as I can. And a lot of times they become part of their family. And, when that happens, pretty much anything happens. They'll work any shift. They might not like to work Tuesdays, but the family says, can you work Tuesday? And they'll work Tuesday. So I think just having that family atmosphere is a big plus to us, because it ends up helping the families a lot more than they think it will.
So when the parent is in the hospital and they have the child, how do you know, or how do the parent know that you're going to be the organization to take care of and help them? And how do they know that? Are you already there? Does the doctor recommend? What's the process with that?
Well, a lot of times we are in with the hospitals or the doctor's offices around here. They are aware of us. There's very few home health companies that do. And I believe we're the only one that specializes in pediatrics. So that is the help. Our patients, not all of them are born, preemies. Not all of them are born with a disability, sometimes through an accident or anything that may happen. In that case, they have a caseworker that they'll be working with at that time. And that is through the hospital or through the doctor's office. They will assign them. And those caseworkers are typically aware of the organizations in the area that can help them. So they'll reach out to us at that time. But, like we're doing now, we do just try to get out in the community and make people aware of us, because, you may think you never need a company like PSA Healthcare, but unfortunately, sometimes life happens and you may need us. So it's good to be out there and just let people know and give them that comfort that if